In today's video, I'm going to share with you the 10 best ways to make money as a solo player in GTA 5 Online. Coming in at number 10 is the bunker. The way the business works is you first either steal or buy supplies for the bunker. Over time, workers at the bunker will turn those supplies into product, which you could then sell on for a profit. Now, in order to make the most amount of money possible with the business, you will have to have the equipment and staff upgrade, and you could then purchase supplies for $75,000. Once you do that, it will take 2.5 hours roughly to turn that $75,000 worth of supplies into $210,000 worth of product, which you can sell. Now, as a solo player, it's best to sell after that one round of supplies turns into product, because for that sell mission, you'll always be guaranteed one sell vehicle. If you let the product build any more than that, you will likely have more sell vehicles, and sometimes completing the sell mission will not be possible. Now, of course, if you were to sell at $210,000 and you spent $75,000 purchasing supplies, that means that you made $135,000 in profit in about 2.5 hours, meaning you're making about $54,000 per hour from this business. And while that is decent money, it does pale in comparison to how much you can make with these other money methods, which is why it's number 10 on the list. Coming in at the number 9 spot is the CEO Special Cargo business. And the way it works is you have a cargo crate warehouse. Once you have that, you're then able to do source missions where you either steal 1, 2, or 3 crates, you bring them back to the warehouse, and then you can sell them on for a profit. In order to run the business, you'll need a CEO office and of course get a separate warehouse. You can own up to 3 warehouses, and there's 3 different sizes that you can purchase: small, medium, and large. And depending on the size, it will dictate how many crates you can hold in each. And of course, the price per warehouse will increase the bigger it is. Now, to make the most amount of money with the business, you will want to always source 3 crates at a time. Sometimes it will give you 2 vehicles, sometimes you'll have to pick up all 3 individually, but that is the most efficient way to do it. Now, when it comes to selling the crates, depending on how many crates you're selling at a time, it will dictate how many sell vehicles you have. But as a solo player, you are able to complete a sell mission with 3 vehicles. And with that being said, I always suggest selling your cargo warehouse when it is completely full, because when your warehouse is full, you will receive the most amount of money per cargo crate versus if you were to sell less crates. Now, if you run the business really efficiently and you do the source missions quickly, you can make a few $100,000 per hour, which is great money, but of course, it's not the best money method out there, which is why it's number 9. In the number 8 spot, we have the other CEO business in the game, which is vehicle cargo. This one is very similar to the special cargo business, except this time, instead of stealing crates, you are stealing luxury vehicles, which you then bring back to your warehouse, mod, and then can sell on for a profit. Once again, you'll need to own a CEO office and a vehicle cargo warehouse to run the business, but once you've got that, you're ready to go. Now, like I said, the way the business works is we're stealing luxury cars to sell for a profit. But there are 3 different tiers of luxury cars you can source when you run a source mission. There's standard, mid-range, and top-range vehicles, with of course top range paying out the most and being the one that you want to source the most often. Now, in order to make the most amount of money with this business, you're going to want to only sell top range vehicles, and when you go to sell them, make sure you sell them for the most amount possible, as there is 3 different options of how to sell. Selling to the highest buyer will require you to mod the vehicle and pay $20,000 for that, but you are making the most amount of money, so it's completely worth it. So with that being said, if you go and sell a top range vehicle for the most amount of money possible, which is $100,000, and you end up paying $20,000 to mod it, that means that you could net out $80,000 for one top range vehicle. Now, you could do this roughly every 20 to 25 minutes, so you could get in about 3 per hour, making you $240,000, but there is one catch. And that is, because we are dealing with luxury vehicles, if you happen to crash it or incur any damages while sourcing the vehicle or selling the vehicle, those will be deducted from your total. So in order to make the most amount of money possible, you will have to be as cautious driving the car as you can. So $240,000 per hour is a decent chunk of change, but if you want to take it one step further, you could sell the car in a public lobby with 25 or more people. that will give you a 50% high demand bonus, meaning that you could then sell the car for $150,000, netting $130,000, and if you do that 3 times per hour, that's $390,000. And because the sell missions are fairly simple, where you're just driving to a buyer on the other side of the map, earning that $390,000 isn't that far-fetched, which is why it's in this top 10 list. But the reason why it's at number 8 is because you have to do so many sell missions, and during your source and sell missions, you could have money deducted from your profit simply by running into another car or incurring any kind of damage whatsoever. So it's a great way to make money, but the amount of money you could make varies, which is why it's lower on the list. Coming in at number 7 is the Acid Lab, and the way the business works is you either steal or purchase supplies, you bring them back to the lab, and then after some time, those supplies are turned into product, which you could then sell on for a profit. In order to purchase the Acid Lab, you will have to first do the first dose mission storyline. There's 6 missions total, and once you've done that, you could then purchase the business for $750,000. Now, in order to make the most amount of money with the business, you will have to get the equipment upgrade for $250,000, but first you'll have to unlock it, and the way to do that is to do 10 Fooligan missions. Once you've done that, you could then call up Mutt or talk to him at the Acid Lab, purchase supplies for $60,000, and after 1.6 batches of supplies, you will have a fully stocked Acid Lab, which you could then sell on for $335,000. If you decide to do that, you'll be making about $60,000 to $70,000 per hour in profit. But if you want to make some extra money, you can sell in a public lobby once again with 20 or more people. That will give you a 50% high demand bonus, bringing it up to $500,000 as your final sale. And this is completely doable because you're only ever guaranteed one sell vehicle. If you choose to go that route, you'll be making about $100,000 per hour. That's the route I suggest, and that is the reason why it's in the number 7 spot. It's a fairly passive business, and it earns you about $100,000 per hour, which is incredible. In the number 6 spot, we have Payphone Hits. These are simple assassination missions where you have one or multiple targets to take out, and if you take them out while completing a specific bonus, you will earn $85,000. Now, these missions usually take about 5 to 10 minutes, so they're very quick, which is the main reason why they're on the list. Now, these were previously number 3 on my last top 10 list, but they've been knocked down considerably for one good reason, and that is the cooldown time for them has increased from 20 minutes to 48 minutes, meaning you could only really do one of these every single hour. Now, although that might seem like a massive nerf for these, because you could still make $85,000 in 5 minutes, it still deserves a top 10 spot. Coming in at the number 5 spot is the Nightclub, which is the best passive income business in the entire game. There's 2 ways to make money with it, with the first one being through the Nightclub wall safe. This is a safe that has a set amount of money deposited into it every in-game day or 48 minutes, depending on how popular your nightclub is. There's a few different ways to increase the popularity of the nightclub, but the 2 best are to throw out disturbances in the nightclub, which will pop up as blue blips on your minimap, or to change DJs. When you change DJs of the nightclub, your popularity will increase. So that's the first way to make money. The second way to make money is a little bit more complicated, but it is the bread and butter of this business, and that is through the warehouse. The warehouse is a section where you're able to hire and assign technicians to source product. When they source that product, it will then build up in the warehouse, and whenever you want, you could sell that product for a profit. Now, in order to make the most amount of money with it, you will want to, of course, hire all 5 technicians, which will cost a decent amount of money, and you'll want to assign them to 5 specific types of product. But there is one catch for the warehouse, and that is if you want to assign a technician to source a specific kind of product, you'll have to own a corresponding business in the game. So with that being said, here are the 5 types of product that make you the most amount of money and the corresponding business you'll need to own. First is assign a technician to cargo and shipments. You'll need a CEO hangar or a cargo crate warehouse in order to do so. Next, assign one to sporting goods, which you'll need a bunker for. Third is South American imports, which you'll need a Coca-Cola lockup for. Fourth is pharmaceutical research, which you'll need a blue stuff lab for, and 5th is cash creation, which you'll need a counterfeit cash factory for. If you assign a technician to each one of those products, you will earn about $50,000 total in warehouse stock each hour. Now, the best part of the warehouse is that once you've done that and set it up, you don't have to do anything else except for the final sell mission whenever you decide to sell. Because all you have to do once you assign those technicians to those products is to just be in a session. So if you combine those two sections of the nightclub, you will be making $100,000 in almost completely passive income every single hour, which is the main reason why it's number 5 on the list. But the only reason why it's not higher is because in order to run the warehouse side of the business, you need to own 5 other separate businesses, which will end up costing you close to the $10 million mark. Coming in at number 4 is auto shop contracts. Of course, you'll need to have an auto shop to do them, but what they are is essentially mini heists with 2 setup missions and a finale. Now, there's 8 different types of contracts you can do, and they each take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete as a solo player. But there is one that's considerably better than the rest, and that is the Union Depository contract, because it pays out $300,000, while the rest pay out between 150 to 200 grand. Now, each of these contracts have about a 48-minute to 1 hour cooldown, so you can't do just the Union Depository contract back to back to back. But if you were to do the Union Depository contract and 1 to 2 others in an hour, you could be making $500,000 to $600,000. So with that being said, that is why they're in the number 4 spot, because they pay out a great amount of money, and to be honest, they're quite a bit of fun to do. In the number 3 spot, we have a new entry to the list, which is the Hangar business, and this may shock some of you, but after the most recent buff and update, you can now make about $700,000 per hour as a solo player with the Hangar. Now, the way the business works is very simple. You go out, you source crates, you bring them back to the warehouse, and then you're able to sell those crates for a profit. Each source mission will give 1 crate, and there's a maximum capacity of 50 crates in the Hangar. Now, what's made the business so good recently is the fact that they've added land, source, and sell missions, which are considerably faster and easier, especially if you have an aerial vehicle like a Sparrow or a Raiju. Most source missions can be done in 3 to 5 minutes, and sell missions can now be done completely solo because you're only ever going to get 1 sell vehicle. Now, when it comes down to how much money you can actually make, each crate at minimum can be sold for $30,000, but depending on how many crates of each type of product you have, you can actually earn a percentage bonus on the sale. As you can see here, there is a tiered system depending on how many crates you have of a certain type of cargo. Now, the best bonus you could get is a 70% bonus for selling either 50 crates of medical supplies, chemicals, or narcotics. But there is a better way to run the business so that you could make that $700,000 per hour. So to be as efficient as possible, you'll want to choose to source 2 of the highest paying types of goods, which are chemicals, medical supplies, and narcotics. It doesn't matter which 2 of the 3 you choose, but pick 2 and alternate between sourcing 1 of each crate. If you do that, after 4 hours, you will have 25 crates of each. Once that's done, you could then do an individual sell mission for each, and you could do those missions in public lobbies with 20 or more people to take up those sales to $1.5 million each. Combined, you will make about $3 million for just over 4 hours of work, meaning that you're making about $700,000 per hour as a solo player, which is why it's now the number 3 money method on the list. In the number 2 spot, we once again have the Dr. Dre contract, which can be accessed by having an agency and completing 1 security contract. The Dr. Dre contract acts like a massive heist where you have 3 mini heists and then 2 finale missions, with the payout being $1 million at the end of it. All in, you'll end up making about $1.1 to $1.2 million for all the setups plus the finale, and it will only take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete, meaning that you're earning about $650,000 every hour. And that there is why it's number 2 on the list. Now I know it makes a little bit less per hour than the Hangar, but doing the contract is more enjoyable to grind through. Plus, because you have to get the agency in order to do it, that also means that you'll have access to doing things like security contracts, passive income through the wall safe, and Payphone Hits. With that being said, coming in at the number 1 spot for the 10 best ways to make money as a solo player is of course the Cayo Perico Heist, which is by far the best way to make money for any player in the entire game. Now of course you'll need to first have a Kasaka submarine to access it, but once you've done that, you could then start up the heist. What the heist is in essence is you are sneaking on to a private island, taking loot from all around it before going to a central compound where you take a very valuable primary target before taking off unnoticed. It is a lot of fun and there's tons of different ways that you can approach it and go about completing it. But the most important part of it is of course the payout, where you're making anywhere between 1.3 to 1.6 or 1.7 million dollars for each time that you do it. For people who have done the heist a lot, it should only take about 45 to 55 minutes to complete, but for first timers, it could take up to an hour and a half. Either way, you're still making tons of money for the amount of time you've put in. And that is why it's number 1 on the list. I hope this list helped you out. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.